Preview. Servicol Sistemas, nuevo sponsor de este canal. Servicol Sistemas, no solo diferentes, somos mejores. Servicol Sistemas, nuevo sponsor de este canal. Servicol Sistemas, no solo diferentes, somos mejores. Servicol Sistemas, nuevo sponsor de este canal. Servicol Sistemas, no solo diferentes, somos mejores.
Fighting along the front lines as Kyiv's counteroffensive grinds out hard-fought gains against heavily fortified Russian positions in Ukraine. Russian airstrikes and artillery attacks are going on, reportedly slowing the Ukrainian advance, at least for now. Our senior international correspondent Fred Pleitgen is joining us with all the latest from the war zone.
Ukraine's army continuing to take the fight to the Russians on the southern front. This video shows the 128th Territorial Defense Battalion clearing trenches after ousting Vladimir Putin's army, the unit says. One of the soldiers, nicknamed the Octopus, telling me the fighting remains fierce. We're currently launching an assault, he says. Our front line.
Si no puedes aportar económicamente al canal, suscríbete, comenta y comparte. Esto ayudará mucho a seguir informando.
Line is moving forward. We've already advanced a lot, more than 2 kilometers, so now we're only moving forward. Even after returning from the front line, the troops continue to train assaulting enemy positions, so important for Ukraine's ongoing major counteroffensive.
The guys here say that the battles that they've had with the Russians have been extremely tough. They've had to fight for every yard, and yet they are confident. They say that they can make this counteroffensive a success.
Troops we spoke to say the biggest threat to them is Russian air power. This video, released by the Russian Defense Ministry, purporting to show a Russian attack helicopter hitting a Ukrainian armored vehicle. The 128th deputy commander acknowledges choppers, planes, and drones are making his forces advance tougher. They work continuously, he says, all day long, either with helicopters or with planes. It's hard to advance like that, but we retake territory. We do not allow them to hit the columns. And the unit says they've managed to capture not only territory, but also hardware from the Russians, including this infantry fighting vehicle. Mechanics now fixing it up to use against the Russians. An angry Russian president complaining about Kiev's offensive and claiming that Russia is beating back Ukraine's forces. They've suffered large losses, Vladimir Putin says, 10 times more than the Russian army, and that is a fact. The Ukrainians do acknowledge some losses, but also say they've taken out a lot of Russian assets, and these troops vow to press on and take more vehicles from Moscow's troops as they advance.
So as you can see there, Wolf, some serious fighting going on the southern front line. I have to say, though, the forces that we spoke to today, they were pretty upbeat about the situation. Upbeat, the Ukrainians, also about the situation in the east of the country. In fact, they're saying that they're making some pretty big gains around the area of Bakhmut. They also say that the Russians are now bringing some combat-ready forces into that area as well to try and hold the Ukrainians up. But the Ukrainians are saying they are making some real gains around Bakhmut. Wolf?
All right, Fred Pleitgen in Zaporizhia in the war zone in Ukraine for us. Thank you. Stay safe. Oksana Markarova, Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. How do you respond to those nuclear threats that we're hearing now directly from Vladimir Putin?
Si no puedes aportar económicamente al canal, suscríbete, comenta y comparte. Esto ayudará mucho a seguir informando.
Wolf, and thank you for having me. Well, we have to just remind ourselves that it is Ukraine that got rid of a third nuclear arsenal in 1994. It is Ukraine that was always peaceful, and it's Russia that continuously is a threat of risk, not only militarily in Ukraine and in the region, but food security, energy security. And at this point, again, as we said before, we should remind an indicted war criminal, Mr. Putin, that instead of continuing threatening peaceful nations, he should focus on actually getting out from Ukraine, where his troops performed miserably, and he only conducted a number of war crimes, including massive shelling of Kyiv and Kyiv Oblast today, Kherson, blowing up Kakhovka Dam, and all the atrocities that they have committed. So yes, it's another attempt to threaten all of us so that we stop in defending democracy, freedom, and the values that we all share. And we will not stop. We will continue liberating Ukraine. And I'm positive our friends will also not stop in supporting Ukraine.
As Ukraine ambassador makes what are being described as incremental advances in this new counteroffensive, what would you say to some Western allies waiting to see what they want to see, namely major gains out there on the battlefield?
We all knew that it's going to be very difficult. The front is very long, south, east of Ukraine. Plus, again, the fact that Russians blew up the dam and flooded the whole area in Kherson, not only devastating dozens of villages and affecting people, but also making it difficult, But again, regardless of how hard it is, we have heard President Zelensky loud and clear, and all the commanders. We are making progress. We will make progress. Of course, all of us would like it to be as fast as possible because it's our people who are suffering under occupation there. And we have very high trust in our commanders and our brave defenders. Regardless how hard it is, we will liberate all Ukraine.
Ambassador, CNN has learned, and I assume you know this, that President Biden is now willing to drop one hurdle in Ukraine's push to become a NATO member. Is that small step enough to deter Russia? What do you think?
I will only say that, Ukraine has made our civilizational choice. We would like to be a member of the European Union, and we're already a candidate country, and we would like to be a member of NATO. It's in our hearts, it's in our constitution, it's something that not only the majority of Ukrainians share and believe in, but also we believe that Ukraine has a lot to add to NATO. Now, how it will happen, it's for us and all the NATO members to decide. But I think, not only that Ukraine is ready and willing to be part of, this family of civilized countries that share the same values, but we have done a lot of reforms and have a lot to add. But, again, as we all are preparing for the summit, of course, we will not go ahead and say, the expectations, but we work a lot with our friends and partners, and we really believe in NATO.
Ambassador Oksana Markarova, good luck to you.
The Ukrainian army advanced 7 kilometers. West confirms successes of Ukrainian counter-offensive. Western states estimate.
Si no puedes aportar económicamente al canal, suscríbete, comenta y comparte. Esto ayudará mucho a seguir informando.
That since the beginning of the counter-offensive actions, the Ukrainian forces have been able to advance 7 kilometers deep into the Russian-occupied territories and liberate at least 4 villages. Anonymous Western defense officials said it to Sky News. Remarking on the achievements of the armed forces of Ukraine, the anonymous sources warned that the Russian side is generally well prepared for the counter-offensive actions by Ukraine, which is why so far the advance has been slow. The Russian forces have generally put up a good defense and have been falling back between tactical lines. This maneuver defense approach is proving challenging for the Ukrainians and also costly to attacking forces, explained the sources. The first counter-offensive actions, according to the estimates of Western officials, are more than just a probing operation. These are full-scale movements of armor and heavy equipment into the Russian security zone and going forwards. Progress is slow because of the minefields and the obstacles which they're coming across, but this is as we'd expect. They'll continue to make progress, they stated. At the same time, the sources warned that after only a few days of the counter-offensive have passed, it is hard to predict the consequences. Ukraine preserves loyal and well-equipped forces, but the conflict will most likely be characterized by exhausting combat, which will cause significant losses for months, the sources added. Belarusian militants training in Poland for insurrection. Belarusian exiles in Poland are training for a future armed insurrection in their home nations, the Times has claimed. The militants may also play a key role in the Ukraine conflict, according to the British newspaper. The report focused on a camp near the Polish city of Poznan, operated by Bipol, the group of former officers from Belarus security services who fled the country following protests in 2020. Similar combat training sessions have been taking place in the NATO nation for months, with the number of recruits in the hundreds, Bipol's leadership claim. The Times described the recruits at the boot camp as common Belarusians who want to topple the government of President Alexander Lukashenko in response to a Stalinesque campaign of torture and detention that has all but silenced dissent in the country. Following the 2020 presidential election, Belarus saw mass protests against Lukashenko's new term, with people claiming that the poll had been rigged to deprive opposition candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya of victory. Tikhanovskaya has since been treated as a representative of the Belarusian people by the US and its allies and is currently based in Lithuania. Bipol claims to have carried out several combat missions on Belarusian soil, including a drone attack on a Russian A-50 airborne radar at Mashulishi airbase near Minsk. Lukashenko said the attackers involved in the February incident had been recruited by Kiev special services and branded his Ukrainian counterpart, Vladimir Zelensky, scum for presumably consenting to the operation. The Belarusian government claimed it was closely monitoring Bipol's activities, including their training camps located in Poland, Ukraine, Latvia, Lithuania, and the Czech Republic. We know particular recruitment posts, know who is involved. We know the training camps, the identities of instructors, who teaches which parts of the course. Belarus Security Chief Ivan Tertel claimed in April. The group is using terrorist tactics to pave the way for an instruction in Belarus and acts as a tool of foreign states, the senior official said. The same masterminds are the driving force in terms of geopolitical problems that our neighbors have, he added.
Forces of Ukraine. Sweden announced the transfer of anti-ship missiles to Ukraine. The 12th aid package to Ukraine could bring a lot of surprises. In particular, the Swedish side mentioned long-range missiles, perhaps referring to the RBS-15. RBS-15, Robot System 15, is a missile developed by the Swedish company Saab Bofors Dynamics, with the participation of Diehl BGT Defense. Modification, RBS-15. Mark I was accepted into service in 1985, and the last, 6th, RBS-15 Mark IV is under development. Ukraine is likely to be provided with RBS-15 Mark III. The basic characteristics of RBS-15 are: the Mk3 variant has a length of 170 inches, the rocket flight weight is 1,500 pounds, and the speed is subsonic. The firing range is increased to 190 miles, which allows the missile to be used from the frontiers outside the range of enemy fire weapons. The RBS-15 has a high probability of penetrating air defense systems and hitting surface ships. Modification of Mark III received the ability to fire at ground targets and can be launched by means of coastal defense. The homing system provides the missile with enhanced capabilities for automatic detection, recognition, and identification of the target. The navigation is with increased accuracy, including in the conditions of electronic suppression of signals from space radio navigation aids.
Si no puedes aportar económicamente al canal, suscríbete, comenta y comparte. Esto ayudará mucho a seguir informando.
Thanks to reliable two-way communication equipment, it is possible to retarget the missile after launch. So, with RBS-15, Ukraine will get yet another dangerous and modern weapon, and will further close the gap regarding Russian military power.